All right. Well, good morning. Well, actually, afternoon now. This is our morning devotions in the afternoon from Arizona. Yesterday, we left Reagan up in just this side of D.C. in Virginia, flew to Dallas, and then from Dallas to Phoenix, and I'm now at my mother-in-law's. We're going to be visiting for a while, and they're 2 hours off here. So whatever time it is there, just back, if you're on the Eastern Standard Time, just back up 2 hours. Anyway, it was a long day, and if I sound groggy, it's because I am. I'll tell you, these trips do not go as well as they used to when I was a little younger. Anyway, but safe journeys, wonderful time, and we're here just north of Phoenix. It's 76 out. It's beautiful. And but I wanted to. I haven't done my morning devotions. I'm going to try to get back at that even while we're away. So here we are at episode 121. This is in Judges 9 verses 47 through 57. The entire chapter is given to this man named Abimelech. Now Abimelech is a son of Gideon, except we learn in verse 18 that he is the son of a maidservant. It says here, let's see what I have here. It says that, in 18, it says, the son of a maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. What happens is he has this ambition to be a king. And he just occupies all of chapter 9, this story about Abimelech. The way it starts, and I'm not going to read it all because the entire chapter is long. It is, what do we got? 57 verses. But it starts off by him and the men of Shechem killing off his 70 brothers. That's how this starts. It's terrible. He's got 70 brothers. And let me see what I have here. Let's see. And he went unto his father's house in Ophrah and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal. These are all the sons of Gideon, 70. He kills all the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 70 boys, 70 of his brothers. He kills Abimelech, who is the son of a handmaiden of Gideon, gets the men of Shechem, and they kill off all of the potential competitors, challengers to the throne, 70 of his own family. All right. There's one that gets away. His name is Jotham. Here is the youngest of them, and the men of Shechem make Abimelech king. Now, this is in a regional area because this is not like a King Saul and King David where they're anointed by Samuel. This is spoken of kingship within a regional time. When things are just in confusion and people need a leader. This whole story, if you read it through, and I read it through several times just to familiarize myself with it again, is just a time of absolute confusion. So what happens is now the men of Shechem are following Abimelech, and we find out later that as he is engaged in this, then verse 22 of this passage, that after Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, that God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. That is, these compatriots of him are now at odds with one another. That's what happens. Wicked men don't get along. And so he uses them to begin his reign. After 3 years, the men that he used to kill off his brothers are against him now. And it tells us in verse 24, which aided him in killing of his brethren. That's how we know it wasn't just him. And then what we note is there's this man that rises up. The Bible tells us about. His name is Gaal, Gaal, as we read it in our English. And the men of Shechem, because they're at odds with Abimelech, side with Gaal. And, well, of course, Abimelech finds out about this. And he goes after Gaal, and he chases him away. There's a big battle here. Let's see. Abimelech chased him in verse 40. He fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even at the entering of the gate. So now he's back at Shechem, at the Tower of Shechem, after having defeated Gaal, Abimelech. And now Abimelech is going to attack Shechem. That's what's going on now. And what you have is the men of Shechem realize he's coming, and they hide in the fortress, or like deep in a place that's formidable, or a place that they don't think that Abimelech can reach. So there's a whole story here about what Abimelech does. That is, he goes up in the woods, he chops down a branch, he's carrying it on his shoulders, and he tells everybody that's fighting with him to put the wood on their shoulders, and they're going to burn the place down, and that's how they're going to enter. They're going to burn the gate. So he goes up in the woods, and now you can imagine everybody that's with Abimelech is now loaded with timber or things to burn, and they are going to Shechem, and they are going to burn down the city, or at least burn down the gate, so they can get in and win the victory. Okay, that's what's happening here. And it tells us here, when he does this, that he's close enough to the gate because he's putting the wood up there to burn it. And then here's the story. This is perhaps the part that we all know, that while he's there, and this is just how, when I talked about that this is just one odd event after another, and you ask yourself why it's in the Bible at all, and because from the beginning to end of all of this is just wickedness, all right? He's called a king for 3 years, but is not in the list of kings, let's say that. Regionally, he might have been considered that, more like a warlord. But it tells us that while they're lighting the fire in verse 52, and Abimelech, it says in verse 52, came under the tower and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. So he's there at the gate, he's going to set it on fire so he can get in. And then here it is. This is verse 53. And a certain woman, this is all just so random, a certain woman cast a piece of a millstone. What can I throw at the enemy? Well, I have a piece of a broken millstone. And a woman picks it up, so we don't assume that it was that big a piece. And I'm not to belittle that, but it's not some big guy the Bible describes. It's a woman picks up a piece of a millstone, something that she can handle, and pitches it over the side of the wall, and it hits Abimelech while he's trying to light a fire to burn down the gate. And a certain woman cast a piece of a millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. And it hit him in the head, and it broke his skull. And then, listen to what Abimelech says. He says, and he called hastily unto the young man his armor-bearer, and said unto him, draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him, and his young man thrust him through, and he died. The only thing Abimelech's concerned about is that no one will know that a woman killed him. And here it is, eternally preserved in God's word, that you were killed by a woman throwing a millstone off the wall. It's crazy. Yeah, don't let anybody know that this is how I died. And now everybody that reads Judges 9, ever since there's been a Judges 9 to read, knows that it was a millstone cast by this lady, this woman, over the wall, and that his armor bearer thrust him through. It doesn't say he's dead yet, but he's going to die if the armor bearer doesn't do anything. And then it goes on to say, and when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place, which goes with everything we've said. If you don't have someone to lead, everybody goes home. With the judges, everybody goes home. There's no Abimelech, everybody goes home. When the judge dies, everybody falls back into idolatry. There's just something that we're finding out about the Bible, about the unique qualities of leadership, and that a good leader, or at least an influential leader, can motivate an army, can motivate a nation. So I think that's an interesting thing, that is the way that here we see in the book of Judges that the people are wired. That when they get a leader, then they follow. And then when they lose the leader, then they're scattered. This should, and I never use this in this context about what I'm ready to say, but this has a lot to do with the nature of your pastor. He's there to lead the flock. And the nature of the pastor will have so much to do on where the church goes, all right? And here, I mean, Abimelech, although it's going to tell us here, is a very wicked man, and he died because of his wickedness. It, by way of leadership, had this charismatic way about him, and to lead men. And even after the men of Shechem abandoned him, he beats Gaal, and goes back to Shechem, and there of course, he dies. But it's just an interesting note here in regards to this man. Let me continue to read here. It says, "Thus God," and then verse 56. "Thus God remembered the wickedness of Abimelech." Yes, what did he do? I skipped over that pretty fast, but he killed off all his brothers. This is like Herod, where the Jewish proverb was that it was safer to be one of Herod's pigs than one of his relatives. The same thing with Athaliah. Athaliah killed off all her grandchildren. There are these stories in the Bible where leaders kill off everyone that might be a contender to their leadership. This is not an uncommon thing. We read about it in the kings and queens in England and France, but this is an old story. This is how you maintain power. Anyone that could be a contender to the throne, you just kill. All right, here he used the men of Shechem to accomplish it, but even they fell out after a while. But it says that this woman threw this millstone, cracks him in the head. He's run through with his armor bearer. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, and slain his 70 brethren. And this is what the retribution was the loss of his life. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, because they contributed to this, the killing of all these sons of Zerubbabel, or the sons of Gideon. And upon them came the curse of Jotham, the sons of Zerubbabel. Now, because Jotham is the only one left, and we're going to hear more about him later. But he was the youngest of the sons of Gideon, and he's going to come back on the scene. So, all right, that's about as short a devotion as I've done. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. It is just I think the whole chapter is just one of wrong. That's what's wrong, and of all the chapters in the Bible that you could cite. That's why I said you got to hear the book of Judges, because of all the things we read here about Zerubbabel, his sons, and Abimelech, and then people telling on people, the murders of whole families. It is just it's a very, very tragic thing that we read here. And when you start, let's see, what do we got? Let's see. Oh, yeah. In chapter 10, which Lord willing we'll get after tomorrow, we have a couple more judges. And then in chapter 11, we have Jephthah. And Jephthah, he's something himself. So, well, we'll just keep it short this morning or this afternoon. And that's the story of Abimelech. And the Lord bless you. And hopefully I'll be feeling a little better tomorrow after I get acclimated to this time change and to get a little rest from the trip. But the Lord bless you, and have a great day, what's remaining of it. And Lord willing, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Okay, we'll see you. Bye.